Yay! Welcome everyone to our book club with Voices of the 21st Century authors, specifically of the book Voices of the 21st Century, Women Empowered Through Passion and Purpose. I'm Laura Rubenstein, one of the authors and host of the show today. And really, we wanted to gather the authors, ask them questions, get to know them, do a little book club style event here for you. And you are welcome to come to this event on Zoom. So if you are part of the Women Speakers Association, please join us. The event is on our Facebook page. And in the meantime, I would like to introduce you to Gail Watson, our founder, the creator of our book series, and the founder of Women Speakers Association. Hi, Gail.
Hello, everyone, and so excited to be here and have this opportunity for everyone now to really get to know some of these authors and ask them the questions that to learn and dive deeper into who they are and their stories. Part of Voices of the 21st Century, the inspiration behind this series was a platform to help us get to know women on a much deeper level, not just what they do, but who they are and all the different things that they do. I know each and every single woman in this book, and I've had conversations, in-depth conversations with each of them. And let me tell you, they are phenomenal and they are women that you need to know. So we invite you to bring some questions, put them in the chat. We're going to do our best to read those out and have you and answer those questions directly from those authors. So sit back and enjoy and get to know these remarkable women.
And our first woman we want you to get to know is our woman who is the forward, who wrote the forward. And her name is Dr. Roberta Shaler. Was a dear friend of mine. She passed away on April 3rd of this year. She had the opportunity, though, to write in the forward to our book. And she knew it was going to be her last time to go ahead and share her words of wisdom. And empowerment was what her whole life was about, empowering individuals who had to deal with hard relationships and chronically difficult people. But I wanted to read the first couple of paragraphs of her opening forward. And it says, empowered is not loud, brassy, or even obvious. It requires no marching bands, cymbals, crashes, or drum rolls to announce its presence. It arises from within, sparked by a desire or possibility. Empowered is resilient at the broken places, quietly growing in confidence that comes from believing in ourselves. It is believing in our own value and vision, comparing it to no one, and with no need to ask permission. Empowered is leaving the past where it sits, refusing to live from any fears or limitations collected earlier in life. It's having gratitude for the road that brought us here while learning from it to move forward more boldly with expanded vision. Empowered is quiet strength built from lifting the heavy things in life, disappointment, fear, loss, failure, diagnosis, rejection, and from others who may have been dedicated to keeping us small, afraid, or limited. It's what opens doors, windows, and sometimes even peepholes for a view of what is possible and available. It's when you say yes to yourself and choose differently. What a powerful way to start our book. We have so many empowered women here. I wanted to first say we are in loving memory of Dr. Roberta Shaler of emergingempowered.com. Her community and her content lives on, and it also lives on in the pages of this book. So I wanted to go around the room here today and just let us meet each other. And I wanted to hear, your name, your chapter, maybe one sentence about what your story is about. Zan, would you like to go first?
Sure, I'd love to go first. And that forward, it's got me feeling a certain kind of way. Um, I'm holding on to the resilient at the broken places. That's just so powerful. I am Zanita Varnado Johns, on social media known as Zan Johns. My chapter, do you want me to talk about my chapter first, or?
Well, it's all about both, but is anybody hearing you? We're not hearing you quite well.
You're not?
So I want to come back to you because I want people to hear you if that's okay. Do you want to work on
Okay.
your sound? It's a little,
It's muffled?
it's not just muffled, it's staticky.
Oh, I don't know what's going on. Okay.
So we're going to come back to you, test it out, and then we'll come back. And Tracy, would you like to share about your chapter?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I am Tracy Eman, and my chapter is called Being Unapologetically Me. And it's really about being that little girl in the back of the classroom with the big glasses, the thick glasses, and feeling a little less than and wanting to be like everybody else or wanting to be somebody else, and just kind of how I've grown through the years, and I've been able to kind of like step away from that little girl and realize that really you need to be yourself. You had mentioned this earlier, Laura. It's just that it's so important for us to just be ourselves. We don't need to be somebody else. Just be yourself and really step into all that you're meant to be.
Yeah, there's such a power in that, that authenticity. Yeah, thank you, Tracy. Corinna, you're up next on my screen. Would you like to go?
Yes, I'll go. I'm Corinna Stoffel, and the title of my chapter is We Are in a Collective Rite of Passage. I have been trained years and years ago as a rite of passage guide, and I see we are in a global transition, not just small things that can be fixed, but Buckminster Fuller 50 years ago said that we will run into the fact that our systems are falling apart and cannot be fixed anymore, which means we need to come up with something new. And often a rite of passage helps get us out of our common point of view and look at it from a different perspective.
Wonderful. So excited. So true. And Margaret, how about you? Would you like to share about your chapter?
Hey everyone, I'm Margaret Swift Thompson, and my chapter is I Didn't Know What I Didn't Know. And some wise woman shared with me that it sounded like a love story to me, and I hadn't found that perspective until listening to her. I would say that it's more than that also, that I want to offer people hope and finding their voice and not believing that what may be part of their history has to continue to paint their future, and that we can become empowered through finding our voice, sharing our voice, and the community of strength we get from being with others instead of trying to fight this battle alone or find our way through what can be tough alone. So grace to self, to acknowledge that as a younger person, I might not have known what I know today, and to not judge myself with what I know today, but to accept and move forward and find our voice.
That's fabulous. Thank you. I mean, I love our little nuances here on empowerment and how it shows up in our life. Lynn, would you like to share about yours next?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lynn Abate Johnson, and I wrote a chapter called You Are Worthy of Love. And it's occurred to me as I've been sharing more and more of this book in my story that I literally wrote about a time in my life where I didn't feel that I was worthy of love at all. I didn't even think that my parents loved me at the time. And so my commitment is that, you know, other people read my chapter and are inspired by the story that I tell. And not just because I was always too ashamed and embarrassed to tell this story, but also because out of opening up myself now all these years later, I think, and I've heard that a lot of people can see themselves in my story. And so, people can look at me today and say, oh no, there's no way she went through that. But I did. And, and it wasn't the only, hard thing that I experienced in my life, and it probably won't be the last. So, you are worthy of love.
Love that. I mean, what all of you are saying is, and especially what you just highlighted, Lynn, is there's power in vulnerability, whether it's a rite of passage, being outwardly loving to yourself through writing the story, or writing about a story of a trial, or even how you were, I love Tracy, when you're the girl in the back with the glasses. We all, have felt out as an outcast. Many of us can relate to that. So great. And Deborah, tell us about your chapter.
Hi, everyone. My name is Deborah Marcia Rubin, and my chapter is called Revolving Doors. The Universe is Your Partner. Because I have made so many changes in my life, it could be from moving cities or moving careers or whatever. The change is a theme that's been throughout my life, and I've always landed on my feet. And it's because I believe very strongly, it's because I listen to that sweet, small voice inside, because I trust and I embrace that voice, that my journey, maybe not your journey, but my journey in this life, my soul wants me on a journey of change so that I can learn what all that means and grow and evolve through the vehicle of change. But trusting is the foundation. And that's what I feel my life when I look back and I go, holy cow, no wonder. My friends sit there and they go, oh my gosh, you live here, you did this, you changed it, and you do it with aplomb. And that's because I have learned and adapted through my yoga and breathing and meditation to be able to accept life in a way that this is all for my goodness and the goodness of others, to help others with accepting change with grace.
Beautiful.
Mm.
How many of us like change? We'd like to think we do sometimes, but it's hard. And then our surrounding communities, how do they like when we change? So it's so brave to do that, right? So Zan, let's see if we can get your sound great.
Let's test it. How's it coming through?
Fine.
Good? Oh,
Just
great.
needed a reset.
Great. Hi, I'm Zan Johns, and my chapter is titled Touching the World, Line by Line. I'm a creative writer, mainly a poet, and I write about how a conversation that I had almost 50 years ago with God in the form of a short prayer laid the foundation for my passion and purpose. I didn't discover it though until the year 2020. And I was at the young age of 62 at the time. So my message is that age should never limit us from pursuing our passion and our purpose.
Amen. Right? That's great. And so, Zan, I want to stay with you because you not only did you write a chapter, but you also wrote the introductory poem for this book and a couple of other of our voices of the 21st century. And that we added that element of a poem to kick off the book. And I thought you could read it today to kick off our discussion.
I'd be thrilled to read it. I dedicate it to my co-authors and to all of the empowered women around the globe. My poem is titled Empowered Bells. Inspiring story after story, resounding voice after voice. The richness of our narratives reveals the courage of our choice. We treat vulnerability as an asset, a conduit of interconnection. We greet each day with confidence, hope, gratitude, and reflection. Our phenomenal, unique selves didn't fit the basic molds. We answered only to our destinies, not to what we were told. The corporate world couldn't contain us. Family dynamics have been addressed. We exposed hurt to heal the healers as we managed our own stress. Our comfort zones became uncomfortable when our purpose wasn't fed. We knew we were meant for greatness, fierce vessels, authentically led. The views in our rearview mirrors display strife-laden trails. Ambition paired with valor bred success, raised ourselves. Discovery was our motivation. We were brave enough to search for self. We're daring enough to grasp what we find, resilient enough to evolve in kind. Whenever fears slowed us down, the universe lifted us up, one pump in front of the other on a path paved with trust. We defied extreme odds against us with the wattage of our guiding lights. We moved with the vibration of sisterhood toward futures distinctly bright. Sometimes we hold up the sky. Other times we're just glad to be alive. After the storms, we come out dancing. Like a phoenix from ashes, we rise. A hand clap for each sister who got up, a fist bump for all who cheer her on. We're but a glimpse of what we once were. Our lights shine as we carry on. Because we boldly bask in purpose, triumph will always be our goal. You will remember our remarkable stories long after our empowered bells toll. Thank you. That was Empowered Bells.
Unbelievable. And Zan, we want to really thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And on behalf of all of the authors that have put this book together, you have done an amazing job at just capturing each and every person in this book. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you all. Thanks, Gail.
You're awesome. Okay, another awesome person that we need to meet who leads us and guides us through Voices of the 21st Century Women Empowered Through Passion and Purpose is Laura Rubenstein, who also shares her story. So Laura, please introduce yourself and your story.
Well, thank you so much. I wrote a book. I wrote a book and I wrote a story called Your Joy Transforms the World. And my passion and purpose is really all about joy, to uplift and make sure first of all, there's joy in my own life, but I know that shines on other people. And my story is about an encounter I had on an airplane flight from San Diego to Las Vegas, and how joy was a part of that, and how someone else really impacted my joy in a positive way. So you'll have to read the story to get uplifted with that. But we need more light in the world. We need more joy in the world. And I feel like every woman in this book has really, with their stories, have uplifted and inspired and bringing more joy to the world. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So with that, let's have a little discussion. Okay. How about talking about empowerment, since the title is Women Empowered Through Passion and Purpose, or the subtitle. Who is an empowered woman that has inspired you, or maybe something came to you when one of our authors were talking that you want to share? So I kind of want to popcorn it. I can randomly call on you, or if you want to raise your hand. Who wants to share about an empowered woman or something that struck you from something one of our co-authors said today?
I wanted to say, and I've been saying this at every single appearance that I've been doing with the book and the book signings. Thank you to all of my sister authors, I'm calling you. I've read every single chapter, and I've read some of them more than once. And because my true confession is I'm not much of a reader. I'm a writer, but I'm not much of a reader. I don't read books cover to cover typically. And so this book has been perfect because the chapters are short, they're very digestible, and every single one has something for me in it. And I know it has something for other people. So I've been going through and reading every single one. And Corinna, yours is one of the most recent ones that I read about your rite of passage. And there were things in there that, I mean, I had always heard of people doing, what you do and what you talked about in your chapter and what you've been trained to do, just never in the way that you explained it. So that was pretty amazing, I thought. And if I could just single out one woman that's impacted my life in so many ways. She's not living on the planet anymore, but it's my mom, and she died on May 1st, 2017. So we just had that anniversary come and go. And, my mom, I think, would be really proud of the way that I'm showing up today. She would probably be surprised. Well, maybe she wouldn't be surprised that I've been an author twice already. And I have a lot to be grateful for. So even though there are dark times, and even though there are things that I would like to change in the world, I think, Corinna, you said something about, things that can't be fixed, things that just need to be burned down and start over. I still, as Laura was saying, look for things, look for some humor in things, look for some joy. And I'm able to do that because of the way that my mom taught me to be resilient and pragmatic and look at all the different sides of being a human being. So thank you for this opportunity. Gail, you've been such a fantastic mentor. I'm recommending this experience to everyone that I know who thinks that they might want to be an author. So I will leave it at that, in gratitude.
I love that you're opening it up to more authors, because every year we do this anthology. And what a treat it is to be in the anthology, in the collaborative book. We actually call it a collaborative book year after year, because it's what you said, Lynn, it's a sister community. It becomes a community of support, of inspiration, of co-creation. I mean, there have been lots of collaborations that have come out of the collaborative book between authors, especially even over time. So thanks for that. Who else is inspired? Anybody feeling inspired just by hanging out with each other here in this book club, right? Is totally inspiring. And Corinna, I was wondering if you wanted to say anything, since Lynn featured you, and do you want to talk about who inspires you and as an empowered woman? And come off mute.
That would help, yes. Thank you, Lynn, so much for your kind words. And I was thinking about who empowered me, and there's actually two women that came to mind for me. One was my grandmother, who, from my perspective, was an unusually woman that was so much ahead of her times. She wrote herself, and I have a stack of magazines in which she was published. So I don't know if there is any relationship to that or not, but I read her stories with total interest and was, wow, for your age, for your time, incredible writing. And the other woman that came to mind was who I would call my trainer, now my friend, who trained me in rites of passage. She is somebody who is standing very quietly in her power and influencing people all over the world. And I have deep gratitude for her and the way she is living life. There is so much I have learned from her. So thank you for that opportunity to share those two women in my life.
I love that idea of standing quietly in one's power, but influencing pretty significantly, right?
Yeah.
That sounds like it's another chapter. I want to read that story. I want to hear how, we need more examples, not to shine a light on those people standing quietly, but influencing greatly.
Yeah.
Because we are the ones who are going to shift the world by doing that, I think.
And it's not the people who are shouting.
Right.
It's usually the quiet ones.
Right.
Yeah.
And that gives us a ton of hope too.
That's all of us.
Yes, it is.
Another.
Yes. Yeah, Deborah.
Well, this conversation just confirms that who I picked was a good idea. My mother. She was a prolific artist who sampled so many styles of art, and she was just be that art. And so she was that foundation, and not a loud person, but she was a very popular and light person. But she would just keep shifting in her understanding of where the art was taking her. And it gave me an appreciation for the depth of creativity, but also that silent joy of being in that place of creation, from where to create. She would be, whether it was etching or creating these really unique art pieces by knitting, she was an inspiration for me on so many levels. And then married to my father, the two of them were just so in sync that it was just, I was so lucky to be born to those parents. And a woman who I've been following for quite some time is Carolyn Myss. And she's a prolific writer, but what I love about her is she was a medical intuitive, but I've been sort of tracking her life and where she's grown from and to, and how she's so willing to research and explore another avenue because she's listening to her higher voice. And she's an innovator of ideas, an innovator of ways to think and be. And she's always inspired me. And she has a friendly way of writing. She's a very gregarious woman. And she's a demanding woman, like, you pay attention. But in that way is that she's got this exciting part of her, and yet there's this knowledge in her that's so rich. And she's just going to keep on going and evolving. And she's like an evolutionist, which I quite admire her. Yeah.
I love that phrase, evolutionist.
Mm.
Yeah. Because that's, picking up what Corinna said, the standing quietly, but great influencing greatly is being an evolutionist. We are standing for the evolution of our society or certain things. So, wow, very powerful.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're hearing birdies in the background.
Yes, we hear birds. They're very excited. Who else would like? Yes, Dan.
I like the sound of the birdies. I actually grew up in a household with my mother, three sisters, and a grandmother, surrounded by sisterhood. I was inspired by their hard work. My mother worked outside the home, my grandmother worked. I was inspired by their resilience. Roberta, in her foreword, talked about being resilient at the broken space. I observed that early on and was inspired by it. I want to also say that I was inspired as a writer by the great poet Nikki Giovanni, who, when I saw her at age 18, a freshman in college, after seeing this feisty, unapologetic woman, young Black woman who looked like me, recite her poetry, it turned me, it sparked this writing that I do today. And what I want to add is we don't know when we're inspiring other people. I retired as a human resources leader, and I always said to people that you're always being interviewed. Act as though you're being interviewed. Well, we should act as though we are inspiring the next woman, the next young person, the next elderly, seasoned person by our own actions. So Nikki Giovanni inspired me without knowing. I inspire people without knowing. I want to give a shout out to another WSA Premier member and a former co-author in the Voices series. That's Dr. Janet J. Sawyer, known as JJ Sawyer. She is my sister-in-law, and she is a woman on fire. She inspired me to join WSA. She inspired me to be a contributor to the Voices book in 2021. This is my fourth time in the book, and I've got to say thank you to Janet Sawyer.
Yay, Janet. We love Janet.
We love Janet.
Yeah, she went on to do, The Voices is not just being an author in a book, it's a journey, it's a community. And it was a touchstone for Janet to do even greater things, like write her own book and get her community really surrounding her in a tighter way and in a more supportive. Yes, go ahead.
I'm glad you said that. Janet's book, Mirroring Your Vision. She is working on the second edition that will soon come out. And I've got to tell you, that book, it's a workbook. It is amazing. And it helped me to dream out loud. That was my biggest takeaway from Mirroring Your Vision. So watch for her edition 2.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
Margaret, did you want to share anything? Who is the empowered woman in your life that inspires you?
If I can unmute, I will happily share. So I've been inspired by being a part of this, by the depth and vulnerability of the women who have written and what they've shared, and the support we've given each other and the unconditional love and pushing each other's voices out and raising each other up was pretty incredible on this journey. I would say I have 3 shout outs for women that have empowered and inspired me. The first one would have to be both grandmas for 2 different reasons. My one grandma was a very nurturing, cuddly, lovey, took me where I was, met me where I was, and said to my parents very young, because I was struggling in school, she's going to be a late bloomer. Don't worry about that one. And that probably foretold my future. My other grandmother was a fierce, go-getter, tough, proud, beautiful woman who left my grandfather in the UK serving in the war and got on a banana boat with 2 children under 3 to Bermuda, having never been there, knowing nobody, not knowing if grandpa would come. And that strength and tenacity inspires me regularly. And I would say the third that I want to shout out is my best friend, You know, everybody who has empowered me for different reasons in different ways. And I've been blessed to be touched by many women along my journey. And my friend Barbara Ann Bell, she's Barbara Ann Thorne. When we were growing up, she little tiny thing, and I'm the tallest girl in the class, and she was the little tiny thing in the class. And I had somebody giving me a hard time at school, and she got in their face and was like, "Don't you mess with her." And I couldn't do any of that. And she has seen something in me and believed in me before, as did my grandma's probably, before I could believe in myself. And she's ridden this ride with me, and she is just a wonderful, safe place to go home to anytime that I'm questioning or wondering. And she will be my hype girl and shout it out and give me those fist bumps. So, you know, women empower us in many different ways, but those are three that come to mind. And also to the women that I'm co-authoring with, very touched and inspired by each and every one of you and your stories. So thank you for being a part of this with me and helping me be a part of it. It's been amazing.
It is an amazing journey to travel along, and it makes you think that there are so many people, so many women who influence us, and to just sit and talk about them and share about them, you know, elevates them as well as us. So thank you. Tracy, is there anyone you want to acknowledge and talk about?
Yeah, it's I love listening to this, and I've got 3 shout outs as well, along with everybody that's here. I'm inspired by every single one of you and everyone in all of the books that I've read, their chapters, and just how vulnerable they are, and how each story has something that touches you in different ways that just it's so powerful. For me, it's my mom. My mom is a person that always chooses happiness and chooses joy and just is always there to support me. And so that empowers me to do the same for my children. And I love that. Second, my Nona, and she is my dad's mom, and she was an entrepreneur way back in Italy. She ran the town dairy, and in her 20s, she came over and did boarded. She was able to help people start their businesses, and she was just like she was the entrepreneur, which is where I got my entrepreneurship from. So I am, completely empowered with her. And then my friend Gail. Gail is we met each other 15, almost 20 years ago. And man, oh man, she empowers me to take chances and steps and cheers me on. And I am forever grateful to you. So thank you, Gail.
Wonderful. Gail, do you want to share who are the empowering people in your life that inspired you?
There are so many. I always say what keeps me waking up in the morning to get back onto calls is the conversations that I have with women from all over the world. I tell you, every single conversation, there is a gem of a person that I get to meet, and each one of those conversations inspire me on some kind of level. It's like a fuel tank that just fills me up. So I want to shout out to any conversation I've had out there. I love you because you are part of it. You are a big inspiration. And as all those calls funnel, and get to work with a group of authors, like these women who are women empowered, so true. You inspire me. Your stories, what you have done, what you've gone through, and not only what you've gone through, but how you've come through the other side with such light and positivity and lesson and wanting to share. I appreciate you so much. And you do inspire me. I just sit in awe of every single person here. So I want to, that's who inspires me.
I will have to ditto Tracy that Gail, you inspire me. This morning I did a workshop before the show, and we were asked to write down people we admire and what we admire about them. And you were on the list, yeah. And yeah, it's the vision holding, it's the positivity, it's the enthusiasm. Every time you talk about, I just had this incredible call with this woman, she's incredible. And I just am so excited that she's coming into the book, or she's becoming a member, or we'll see what happens, or she'll be a speaker on speaker success training. So that is just reminding me, it's creating community that you do so well, and we need each other. We thrive because we have each other, and that's what this community of voices of the 21st century authors is, and why it's my honor to support the every book and bring these book club discussions out, because they bring all of us together, and then we just deepen that relationship every time we come together. So I want to invite all the authors to be in touch with each other even more so now. And I wanted to invite those of you watching to connect with our authors. Do you have a book club? If you do, guess what? Our book in the back has a page that's called Conversation Starters. They're book club questions. You could invite one of our authors to your book club and go ahead and have them lead your book club discussion, or be there to field questions about the book, about their story in particular, and about being an empowered woman, and just create that community, deepen that community for your club. And so authors, I'll invite you to go online to our Facebook page and put your contact URL in there. And Margaret, yes. No, okay, never mind. Well, great.
Looking for the button for the heart.
The
Sorry.
heart buttons. Yeah, the heart buttons. That's great. Now on your iPhones, if you have, when you do that and you're on FaceTime, it blows up your screen with hearts. And if you do this, it's fireworks. So I feel like we're having a heart and firework explosion here. Yeah, that would be cool to do if we have that coming up. Anyway, this has been a great connecting time to hear about your story, to hear about the empowered women you are, and the empowered women who have enlightened you. Gail, any final words to end today?
Gratitude to each woman here who had the courage, the conviction to want to share their story. For some, it was a tough go to, where they really dove deep inside of them to share their truth. So we're so appreciative of every single woman here who's part of this book and shared their story. And Laura, I love that the red carpet is rolled out to everybody watching. This is how we keep and spread women empowerment. Is you're watching us on Facebook right now, or Instagram, or LinkedIn, you do have a community, and just take a look at, pick any one of these women, or go to Voices of the 21st Century Book.com, where you'll meet all the different authors and connect with them, invite them. This is how we do it all together. And we can keep spreading this further and further and further. Our world needs empowerment and positivity, and it is women who are going to lead the way in this. So please do get in touch with any of these women who would be glad to lead a session with you.
And if you're interested in becoming an author, we are about to close out our next book of authors, but we have a couple of spots left for women who are bringing light to this world. And that is the theme of the next book. You just go to voicesofthe21stcentury.com to learn more. Submit the questionnaire, and Gail will get on a call with you to see if this is a fit. So there's no obligation, but voicesofthe21stcentury.com is a great first step to bring you on into the fold here. So thank you, ladies, for being empowered, for being inspiring, for your heart and your love and your stories. We'll be back next week. Bye for now.
Thanks.